Hello everyone, and thank you for joining me. Today at last I'm putting out this video. You've probably seen loads of first impressions already, and I had to wait because I got the engraving put on the lid, and in summary, don't bother. You can barely see it. There it is, Ali M. It's so tiny, it really isn't worth it. It is not in the font that is advertised on the website. The website was brown and it was a lot bigger font. That is just not worth the money. But I'm still glad that I tried it because I just wanted to see what it was like. And I know now not to bother anymore. Okay, but you've come here to hear about this beautiful skin foundation. Now I'm going to do a quick video about this, and then I'm going to do another video which is going to be about all of Charlotte's foundations, because she now has 4, and that's not including Flawless Filter. And I'm sure that some of you are confused about which one is for you. So that one is coming next. But today I'm just going to do the Beautiful Skin Foundation. Now I'm just going to put on a little bit of magic cream because my skin's a little bit dry today, and a little bit of serum, and I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. Skincare done. Now I got the shade 7 Neutral. This comes in 30 shades. So there should be a shade for everyone. Now, I wouldn't get too worried this time about getting it very close a match, because it is not as high coverage as I nearly said Flawless Filter, Airbrush Flawless Foundation. So when it's not as high as a coverage, you don't have to worry about getting as close a match, right? The higher the coverage, the closer you need to get it. But I got 7 Neutral, and I did a consultation where she actually agreed with me that it should be 7 Neutral. I was kind of going that way, but when I did the online tool, it told me 8 Neutral, which looked way too dark. So be very careful about doing the online one. I know Charlotte says it gets it right all the time or your money back, but just be very careful, because you don't really want to be sending foundations back, even if they give you the money back. Now, I'm going to put this on without further ado. I've got my glam top on, New Year, so I thought if I'm going to wear a snuggle top, I'll wear one that's a little bit more glamorous. And I'm going to put this on. It's got hyaluronic acid in it, okay? Now, you know I did a first impression the other day on my live. So I'm going to just talk you through this foundation. Sorry, my light's gone off. There we go. Right. So this is a really good match for me, actually. Now, it's looking in this light. Sorry, I'm just going to leave it at that in a minute. But it was looking in that light to be too yellow. It's not. I've got my mirror here that is actually shining the light. Now, I'm just going to put this on half of my face, because I have a little theory about this foundation. Right, I'm not going to put that light on again because it's just going to confuse all of you. Right, I've got a theory about this foundation that I want to try out. No, I'm going to have to sort out the lighting. I'll be right back. It's going to be one of those days. Bear with me and I'll be right back. Okay, that's a little bit better and a bit more consistent. So I'm just applying this foundation. Now, as I'm doing this, and I'm just, as I said, applying it to half of my face because I want to test out a theory. So this is actually just to give you some comparisons, which I will go into more detail in my next video. But I would say that this is, it's higher coverage than Light Wonder, which is obviously what they say anyway, medium coverage. It says it's buildable, but I would take that with a pinch of salt. It's buildable to some extent, but it's not super buildable, right? This is a foundation that is going to make your skin look like skin. So the thing is that it's not going to cover every bit of pigmentation on your face. But if you did that, then it wouldn't look like skin. And it's called Beautiful Skin Foundation, okay? So, now it feels quite It feels thicker than Light Wonder foundation, and it feels a little bit sticky on the skin. Now, as I said, this has got hyaluronic acid. I think I said that a minute ago. If I didn't, this has got hyaluronic acid in. So it's very good for dry skin. I'm going to show you, I'm going to put a little bit more over the pigmentation here, right? And you will see that it is a little bit buildable. It's just not super buildable. But that is not what you would be going for with this foundation. What you're going for is a foundation that looks like your skin but better, okay? And you can always do that with a concealer, but if, as I said, if you wanted something with a bit more coverage, then you would be looking at something that is not going to look as much like skin, right? So it's always a case of getting what you want and sometimes compromising what you want. If you want full coverage, then you're going to get something that doesn't look like skin, because let's face it, we don't all walk around with flawless skin, most of us. Okay, so that is 7 Neutral, and it's a very good match for me. Now, as you can see, it's super shiny. It feels quite tacky on the skin. Now, that's not a bad thing, because if you've got dry skin, and this is very good for dry skin, it will feel very comfortable on the skin. What it will also do is make sure that it kind of reduces the appearance of fine lines, because it's got a lot of moisturizer in it, which is what makes it feel quite sticky on the skin, if I'm honest. You're not going to like this if you've got very oily skin. I know she says in the description bar that it's got some factors in it that help with balancing oil in the skin, but I really think if you've got oily skin, just my opinion, that you're not going to like this as much, because I think, and also if you've got a lot of texture in your skin, because it's quite shiny, so it's going to accentuate any texture. If you've got a lot of kind of pitting of the skin, it's going to accentuate that because it's quite shiny. Okay, but it does have this kind of sticky feel, and it doesn't dry down immediately. Now, the reason I'm saying this is because you need to be very careful when you're applying powder, in my opinion, because what's going to happen is whatever powder you put on afterwards, it's going to grab it and it's going to hold it. Now, that's really good in terms of setting this foundation, but it will be very easy to go in with a big chunk of bronzer and it for suddenly to look like a brown line. So just be very careful that you tap off any excess product or blusher or bronzer when you're doing it, and put it on with a nice big fluffy brush, because this foundation is going to grab any powder that you apply to it. It feels like it's going to grab it. Has its advantages, but also has its disadvantages. But that's what makes it look like skin. And as you can see, it's super glowy. And I feel like I still will need to apply some powder, but in the right places. The places that I would normally put powder to be a little bit more flattering. Now, you may be wondering why I've done half of my face, and I am going to show you next. Okay, so I had a little theory about this foundation. What it reminded me of very much is if Charlotte actually mixed Light Wonder foundation with Flawless Filter. And actually, I've just done that on the back of my hand, and the consistency is very similar. It thickens up the Light Wonder foundation, but it's still got that shiny glow because it's got the Flawless Filter in it. Now, I may not have got the colour match correct, right? So if the colour looks different, don't worry about that. But I want to see if I can get the look of this foundation the same by mixing Light Wonder and Flawless Filter. Now, I've mixed shade, just for information, I've mixed shade 8 of Light Wonder with 4.5 of Flawless Filter. And let's go in now and see if I can make this look the same. And I think I can. I think this is going to look very similar. So the Light Wonder obviously is not as big a coverage, but the Flawless Filter is adding the coverage to it. And I think that looks identical. Perhaps a tiny bit more glow, but that will depend on how much Flawless Filter you add to the Light Wonder. Right, so I'm going to show you both sides of my face now. And I'm going to take a photo because I'm going to put this on Instagram and ask people to spot which side is which and see if they can. So, there we go. There is Flawless Filter and Light Wonder mixed. And this is Beautiful Skin Foundation. I think they're looking pretty similar. Okay. Now, one thing I will say is I would not, it's up to you. Makeup is makeup, whatever you want to do. But I would not use Flawless Filter under Beautiful Skin Foundation. Because unless you're somebody that likes putting Flawless Filter and nothing else on your face, it's going to look really glowy. It's going to kind of heighten the glow. I haven't tried it. I probably will one day just to test that out. But I would say that this is not a foundation, the new one, that you want to be applying Flawless Filter underneath or mixing it. You might want to put a bit on top to highlight certain areas of the skin of the Flawless Filter, but I wouldn't put it as a base or mix it because I think it's going to make it too glowy. But there you go. I'm just going to come off and take a quick photograph. Okay, having just taken the photograph in a good light under my spotlight, I would say the only giveaway is that the Flawless Filter mix with Light Wonder is slightly less coverage. But I really don't think, I'd be quite happy going out like this. I don't think anyone's going to notice. Very similar appearance. I'm going to put my concealer on and my powder, and I will be right back. Right, I've just taken another photo. Now I've put my powder on and my concealer because I'm going to put that one on Instagram because I don't think you can tell a difference between the side that I've put Flawless Filter and Light Wonder and Beautiful Skin Foundation. So I've done this test because I know some of you watching will think, oh, another Charlotte Tilbury product. Can I afford it? And it's kind of the fear of missing out thing. And you might already have Flawless Filter and Light Wonder, in which case you really are not going to notice the difference. Now, I have to say, it's a beautiful foundation. I am loving it. And I think it's going to be a lovely one for the spring. So let me get into who this foundation is for. Let's say some obvious things. If you've got dry skin, this is a really good foundation because you can feel it holds moisture. It does feel a little bit tacky on the skin, but I think if you've got dry skin, you're going to appreciate that feeling. I think if you've got oily skin, you're not. It's definitely not one that I would recommend for oily skin. Now, if you're somebody that likes a very matte look, I know this is really obvious, but if you're someone that puts a lot of powder over your foundation, again, depending on how much powder, obviously we all like to put a bit of powder on, but if you're someone that really does not want that shiny look, then I would stick with Flawless Foundation, Airbrush Flawless. This is for somebody that really wants a very skin-like appearance, but a bit more coverage than Light Wonder. And I'm going to get into the differences between all of them in my next video. So do tune in. I'm going to do that tomorrow, okay? I'm absolutely loving this. And it's one of those foundations that looks even better as it sinks into the skin. So about an hour after applying it, I find it looks even better. I also think that a lot of the neutral shades are really good this time, because I found in the past that even Charlotte's neutral shades are too yellow on me. But this one is a proper neutral. It doesn't feel like it turns yellow. Obviously, when I had the light really shining on it, it looked yellow, but it doesn't feel too yellow on my skin, but it gives it a little bit of warmth nevertheless. It sort of feels like it's on my spectrum of somewhere between neutral and warm, but not too yellow. I have heard from other people about the undertones. They're not sure about the undertones because some of them don't seem to be like true neutrals or true cools. I can't really comment on that because I've only got this one shade. But I would definitely recommend that you have a consultation, because I think the makeup artists at Charlotte Tilbury are very good at matching you for your foundation. I haven't put that video out yet, but one thing I will say is make sure you're in a good light, because they don't ask you to make sure you're in a good light. And again, it may be obvious to some, but not to everyone. Make sure you're in a good light when you do your consultation, and make sure you're not wearing any makeup so that they can actually see you properly, because they don't mention that at all before your consultation or during the consultation. Now, it may be that they realised that I hadn't got any makeup on, so they didn't mention it, but I'm just saying, just in case, it's worth mentioning, all right? But overall, I think this is a really good foundation. It's a really good price, and I think it's going to be very successful. I think she chose a brilliant release date when we're all getting ready for the spring months, where we might need a little bit more coverage than Light Wonder, but we don't want to be wearing our airbrush flawless as much because we want to show our skin. And I just think it's a beautiful, beautiful foundation. The powder sits beautifully over it, her airbrush flawless finish powder. I think overall it's one I would recommend. If you have any questions, please put them below, and do tune in tomorrow, where I will be exploring the difference between all 4 of Charlotte Tilbury's foundations. Can you remember Magic Foundation? I almost had to go back and double check because I haven't worn it for so long, but I'll be recapping on all that tomorrow. So take care, and thank you for joining me. I'm going to be off now. I don't think I'm going to put any other makeup on because it's Sunday and I just feel like not really wearing too much makeup. So take care and have a good day. Love you all. Mwah. Wow, I got 80 votes on Instagram. Thank you so much for engaging with this poll. I had a total of 76 actually answering on the poll and 4 people answering in the comments. So I did adjust the figures at the end. So the total came to 69% of you actually guessed correctly that side A was the Beautiful Skin Foundation. Now, I'm actually not worried that you spotted this, because actually it just tells me something, which is, I think what happened was the coverage gave this away. So actually the conclusion would be from this result that Beautiful Skin Foundation is something worth getting if you find that Light Wonder is not good enough coverage, because even Light Wonder and Flawless Filter mixed together is not going to give you the same coverage. So it's really a good one to try if you want to have skin that looks like skin and you want quite a bit more coverage than Light Wonder Foundation. Okay, so it's a really helpful poll, so thank you so much for engaging with it. And but I will say that the texture and the finished look is very similar. It's just the coverage that was different. Okay, so anyway, thank you for watching, and I'll see you all very soon. Take care. Love you all. Mwah.